بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. It is Monday, the 18th of October, and in our series, Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 265, in which we are looking at the meanings of the words of verse 93 of chapter 2 of the Holy Quran. And this is the 9th broadcast in which we are looking at these words. Just to remind you that the Lahore Ahmadiyya community, also known as Lahore Ahmadiyya movement and the Tehreek Ahmadiyya and Ahmadiyya Anjuman Ishaq Islam, etc., was founded by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib. And our teaching, our beliefs are based on his teaching. And his teaching was that although people say that another prophet will come after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, the Holy Quran says that the Holy Prophet was Khatamun Nabiyyin. And the Holy Prophet explained by saying, Ana Khatamun Nabiyyin, La Nabiyya Ba'di. There is no prophet after me. So now we will not have another prophet. Like, Israelites had one prophet after another. And his companions, Radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, they asked him, they said, O Prophet of Allah, in other nations, sometime after a prophet passes away, people go astray. What will happen to Muslims if they go astray? And the Holy Prophet said that reformers, mujaddideen, will come to lead the people back to the correct path. And of course, when you have people who've been believing something or who've been practicing something, it may be wrong, but it's very difficult to bring them back to the right path. Because the first thing people say is, well, who are you to tell us what to do, what not to do? We saw our parents and our great-grandparents and everyone, they were doing exactly the same thing. And we hear this often. So, Hazrat pointed out that this will lead to disagreement. But he also pointed to a very important saying of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, which was that if one reciter of the kalima says to another reciter of the kalima that you're not a Muslim, you're a kafir, you're a heretic, then this verdict of heresy returns and falls upon the person saying it. So strictly did the Holy Prophet Muhammad forbid this practice. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad also taught us that although people say that part of the prophetic revelation is missing from the Holy Quran. For example, they say Ayah Rajam is missing, Surah Walayat is missing. Nothing is missing from the Holy Quran. All prophetic revelation is in the Holy Quran. And he said that God has said, I have revealed it and I will protect it. I will guard over it. So if God is watching over the Holy Quran and its content, then how can it be that part of it is left out and no one says anything? Again, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib said that people say some of the Quranic verses have been abrogated. And he said this is wrong. No verse of the Holy Quran was, is, or ever shall be abrogated. And further, he said that jihad is a fundamental duty of every Muslim. But jihad as defined by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, not as defined by some jurist or some Maulana or someone like that. And this is what people generally forget. While returning from fighting, the Holy Prophet Muhammad said, from the minor jihad, we are returning to the major jihad, and then went on to explain that the major jihad is jihad bin nafs. Jihad against our own inner souls, our own inner selves, against our desires such as greed and envy and hatred, and there's a long list. You know it and I know it. So I cannot stress enough the importance of this jihad being conducted by every Muslim, particularly every Ahmadi Muslim. So with that, let us turn to the verse of the Holy Quran that we are looking at. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ أخذنا ميثاقكم ورفعنا فوقكم الطور خذوا ما آتيناكم بقوة واسمعوا قالوا سمعنا وعصينا وأشربوا في قلوبهم العجل بكفرهم قل بئس ما يأمركم به إيمانكم إن كنتم مؤمنين. And when we made a covenant with you and raised the mountain above you, take hold of that which we have given you with firmness and obey. They said, we hear and we disobey. And they were made to imbibe the love of the calf into their hearts on account of their disbelief. Say, evil is that which your faith bids you if you are believers. So today we are going to look at the words Ya Murukum. Well, I say words, the word Ya Murukum. In the Urdu broadcast, I was hoping to cover Imanukum, but didn't turn out to be that way. I just about covered Ya Murukum. So let us look at my computer notes and see what gems I have for you. Right, Ya Murukum, it has two segments. Ya'muru and kum. Kum is the pronoun and ya'muru is the verb. You must have noticed by now that pronouns are added at sometimes the beginning, but mostly at the end of verbs and nouns. It occurs in the Holy Quran 248 times and in six forms. That is, this combination with other letters occurs in six forms, and total number of 248 times. Now, 166 times it occurs as the noun Amr, and 77 times as Amara. Well, that covers most of them. Then twice it's Ya Tamiru. Once as Amarat, and once as Imr, and once as Amirun. And mostly it occurs as Amar, which means to order, to command. He commands you, he orders you. Atamuruna nasa. Wa iz qala Musa li qawmihi inna Allaha ya'murukum. Qul bi sama ya'murukum. The verse that we're discussing. Orders you, commands you. So that's the most common use of the word. So let us see. You'll have to give me a second while I get the pages in order. I'm sorry about this. Oh. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing and lost my page completely. Now, Hamza Mim Ra, as I said, is the root of this word. Maybe I didn't say it. And this word, al-amaratu, is actually used for stones that were used in deserts for two reasons. One, to mark the boundary of something, and two, to show travelers the path. So this is why its literal translation is sign, marker, indicator, guide. Because obviously, if you have a sign that says, Dallas this way and San Francisco that way, then it's guiding you which path to follow. A simple example is of these stones marking the boundary of something is that I was on the continent with a friend and we were driving from Germany to Belgium. I was driving, he was in the passenger seat. And he fell asleep, and a while later he woke up and he said, are we still in Germany? I said, no, we've crossed the border into Belgium. And he was quite astonished, and he said, how, why, when? So I said, well, what happened? He said, well, where was the customs? Where was the immigration? And I said, there was no customs, there's no immigration. That's the whole point of having the EU. So he said, well, if there's no customs and no immigration, how do you know this is Belgium? I said, well, a while back, there was a board there. It says, welcome to Belgium, drive safely. So we're in Belgium. So this is a modern form of exactly the same thing. Someone would put a rock or a group of stones and put a cross there or something. So that meant that, this was the end of the territory belonging to the city of Taif, and you are now in, I don't know, wherever it was, and so on. So because it means to guide, this is why the same word is used, the same root is used to mean to consult. For example, when the Holy Quran talks about Moses, and he went and preached to the Pharaoh, then in chapter 7, I think verse 110, the word ta'murun is used. Maza ta'muruna, which translated means, so okay, what do you advise? So you can see Amr is the root of that. The same root has been used for consultation. It's also used to indicate quantity of something, large quantity of something. But generally we know it to mean as a command or a matter, an order. And in many places in the Holy Quran, it's used in that sense. Inna Allaha ya'murukum, chapter 3, verse 67. God commands you, he orders you. And this is why Al-Amir means the ruler, the commander, the one who orders you. Ala Amrin Jami'in, chapter 24, verse 63. It means something that affects everyone. If the government is going to pull down a town and build a motorway, that affects everyone. So everyone should be consulted in this matter. So Um, let me have a look at some verses of the Holy Quran where it's used with these meaning. So, chapter 11, verse 123. وَإِلَيْهِ يُرْجَعُ الْأَمْرُ كُلُّهُ. And every matter turns to him. Basically meaning that, he commands everything that happens. قُلْ إِنَّ الْأَمْرَ كُلَّهُ لِلَّهِ يُخْفُونَ فِي أَنفُسِهِم مَّا لَا يُبْدُونَ لَكَ يَقُولُونَ لَوْ كَانَ لَنَا مِنَ الْأَمْرِ شَيْءٌ. Chapter 3, verse 154. I tell them, without doubt, every matter, everything is in God's hands. And it's in the context that, some people have something else in their heart and they say something else. But here's an interesting use of the word wa amruhu ilallahi, and God's command has come. Now, by God's command, what it means is the final reckoning that has come. The day of judgment has arrived. قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي, chapter 17, verse 185. Say that the soul is there because of God's command. And I'll skip something and move to chapter 37, verse 102. This is the verse where we are told that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam is talking to Hazrat Ismail. Inni araya fil manami inni azbahuka fanzur maza taraya qala ba abatif the tif'al ma tu maru. I have dreamt that I'm sacrificing you. I'm consulting you. What do you think? And he said, well, obey God's command, obey whatever you have seen. Now here, the dream that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam had in which he was sacrificing his son, the word used for that is ma tu mar. At the end of the verse. But the word is used because God is giving him a command in the form of a dream. Again, I commented on the following previously, chapter 16, verse 1. Ata amrullahi. And God's command arrived. And that was the punishment or the end of the day of judgment. So here, Amar, God's command, but it stands for the day of judgment when everyone will be judged. Now, there is some debate about this verse. And the verse is chapter 3, verse 59. وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. And that is telling us to obey those in authority among you. Now, some people say, well, that only refers to Muslims. So if you're living in a non-Muslim country, for example, if you're in Western Europe and United States and Canada, then you need not obey their governments. And it is this kind of interpretation of the Holy Quran that is leading to so many problems for the Muslims. Muslims are going out and doing things, and they're saying, well, we don't need to obey the the rules, the regulations, the commands of these governments. They're not Muslims. Some interpret it even more narrowly, and they say that this only applies to the people at the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And some make it even narrower, and they say that this obey them only applies to the Holy Prophet's family. But my view is that, God doesn't put these distinctions and so on in his command. He is clearly saying, whichever country you live in, obey the laws of that country. But there is one very interesting discussion, and which is very justified, and that is that this refers to those decisions of the government, those rules of the government, which are justified. Now, you could say that, a Muslim or someone can always find something that is wrong, with some order of the government and so on. But I think an important point has been missed here. And Western legal theory only realized this at the end of the Second World War. Because what happened was that many Nazis were tried for war crimes, with genocide and so on. But these were all new things and new concepts. But anyway, and what was their defense? And they said, well, what are you on about? War crimes. We simply did what we were told. Ulil amri minkum. Obey the rulers among you. This was their defense. Their defense was they didn't say it's a verse of the Holy Quran, but that was their defense. But then this theory was developed that a person, even a soldier, has a right to refuse to obey orders which are unjust, which breach the other party's human rights. Now, the interesting thing is the fact that these should be the orders that the government is giving should be justified in some manner. Even at the time of battle, we cannot go around indiscriminately killing people, was first mooted by Islam. Hazrat Abu Bakr, it is recorded in history that when he sent an army, he gave them a long list of instructions. Number one, you will not kill non-combatants. You will not kill women. You will not kill children. You will not kill sick people. You will not kill old people. You will not cut down trees. You will not destroy crops. And then, specifically, interestingly, you will only kill the people who are fighting you, who are in combat. And I think, so far as I know, it's the first time in the history of mankind that rules of war were laid down. And again, you know, they're based on this discussion in Islam about what rules it is that you are bound to follow and which ones that you can reject. And if you take that in line with Hazrat Abu Bakr's instructions, it's easy to see that the Quran, the teaching of the Quran was interpreted by Hazrat Abu Bakr to show that you cannot violate people's human rights even at the height of battle. We've run out of time, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view. So with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep the whole of humanity free from harm and under his protection. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and